And I named this Mondrian before he died. He had come to New York, and he loved Broadway very much. He loved the theater. He loved the lights on Broadway at night, and he called this Broadway Boogie Woogie. So I think you can get that the feeling of that rhythm even in this. I call this homage to Mondrian's Broadway Boogie Woogie. And this has been in many important shows. It was in the first show that opened at the Boulevard, the new museum in Paris. They had a big show called New York, Paris, and this was in that show. It was an international show in Stuttgart, Germany, and their museum there. It was called Painting, Art and Music, where they thought that there was a great relationship between art and music, and they wanted this because the name was Boogie Woogie. And people have said, well, Mondrian, when he died, he had hit a stone wall anyhow, and he had made his statement, or had hit a dead end. And I said, I don't think there's any such thing as a dead end except in people's minds. And besides, a man at his age, influenced by Broadway into a painting called Boogie Woogie, and you know his earlier paintings, it was so different from the others. He's still working only with the vertical and the horizontal lines, however, and with the primary colors. Well, you know, I'm still holding on to that. I still have it. It's about, it's not exactly square, I should say it's about 40 inches by 37. Yes.
When you start to paint a painting like this, how does your idea evolve? Do you start out with a straight edge, or?
Oh, that's a very important question. I wouldn't have thought to have told you about that. All through the 40s, the first thing I did when I stretched a canvas was to take a ruler and lay it off in inch stripes, and then inch stripes horizontally. So that was a grid. And then I composed in that. And people say, now, aren't you terribly limited or handicapped by working in a grid and like that? I said, did you ever hear of a pianist saying they needed more notes, or a violinist needing more strings? No, it was no handicap at all. It left me very, very free. The straight lines were already there. I didn't have to worry about drawing straight lines. All of these, see, I later erased the squares, the pencil marks in between this, or painted over them. But so, and this all came by feeling and spontaneously. I did no preliminary drawings whatsoever. I knew that I wanted to work with small squares and large squares and various sized squares and these colors. So maybe I just go along. I'd make an X here. This was two squares. I'd make an X and all of that. All of these. One here for this. Feeling the relationship as I go. I also was feeling my diagonal movements both ways. The rhythms on the horizontal, the rhythms on the vertical, the rhythms on the diagonal, and then placing the colors harmonically. They be in harmony and a certain rhythm of movement to jump from one to the other. This is a painting that's 37 inches square, and it hangs on the diagonal, and it's very closely related to homage to Broadway Boogie Woogie, except it's just in colors of gray, black, and white. I think the date on this is approximately 1947. It's another painting that I had held on to. Yes?
You know, when you change your orientation from the sides being horizontal and vertical, like what you had with most of the other movements before, and put this on a diagonal as far as the frame, Did this go further with the diagonal thoughts that you were trying to work towards?
Yes, it did.
Really changes the feeling of the type of
You
painting.
see, here I was really able to use the diagonal on the circumference, on the periphery of the painting, but it becomes very much integrated with the whole thing because this diagonal is repeated in here, and so are all of the rhythms created and the repeats of those various movements. Excuse me for saying this, I will tell you because it might be an element of interest. This sold 3 or 4 years ago to a museum in Nebraska. It was sold from my studio because there was about a year I didn't have a dealer. And someone told me that the director of the museum in Lincoln, Nebraska was going to retire, and he had said that he was not going to retire until he had a painting by Leon Polk Smith and one by Burgoyne Diller, who had long been dead. Burgoyne Diller was also a friend of mine and painted in this general direction. And they came to my studio and they wanted this, and I told them that it was one that I'd been saving for myself, and they wanted it very badly, and they paid well over $100,000 for it. And then I found out that museum was on the campus of University of Nebraska. And I said, well, the students need to see more than one painting of an artist's work, or they can't get a feeling of really what he's trying to do. So I gave them over $150,000 worth of artwork, and it made a rather nice little collection. They have a whole room of my paintings. And then when the director retired and they celebrated the 20th anniversary of their new museum, they sent in a private Learjet to pick us up because they wanted us very badly to be there. They picked us up in a limousine at our apartment in New York, that took us to the airport in New Jersey, and very few moments we were in Lincoln, Nebraska. That little jet zoomed at 5,000 feet high, 6,000 feet high. Yes, the big planes travel around 35, don't they? They went up to 50,000. It's so smooth up there. You're sitting there in the middle of this little thing and seeing the landscape down below. It was a beautiful experience.